What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for a loan watch, and today we're going to be specifically focusing on the boys at Leyton Orient, Jamie Donley and Josh Keeley, both having fantastic loans. And I'm sure you saw the scenes last night of Jamie Donley scoring yet another banger, and he seems to be growing and growing and growing.
And Keeley as well, 90th minute save. Do you see it?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he made a really good save in the 90th minute to get the win.
The stats are just unbelievable on both of them. The amount of clean sheets Josh Keeley's making, and having the amount of bangers and assists and goal contributions that Jamie Donley, not to say less, the one against Man City that's probably going to get FA Cup goal of the round from the halfway line, which we've seen him do on a number of occasions for the youth team. But we've got a Leyton Orient fan, Jake, to come and join us today to give us the lowdown. He was there last night at Wrexham. He's been up and down the country following Leyton Orient this season. So let's bring on Jake. Jake, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, buzzing after last night. Really good result, and a result that really moves us higher up into the playoffs places.
Yeah, Leyton Orient going up to the Championship. What'd you say about that?
Yeah, so I think everyone talks about the Premier League, but I think my dream as an Orient fan has always been to see us play in the Championship. So not getting too ahead of myself, but that would be unreal. But we're just enjoying the ride, I think. We're not one of the favourites to get promoted, but we're certainly staking a good claim.
Jake, before we get into Donley and Keeley, just for context in terms of your season, you're currently, I think, 6th in League One, on a mad run of form. But going into the season, what was like Orient's what was your thinking? What were you aiming for this season? Was it to get in the playoffs or just like stay up mid-table? What was like the aims for Orient going into the season?
I think with our club, we've always sort of accepted that the League One is our level. We had our first season back last year, struggled a lot, and then finished in the top half at the end with a really good finish. And it's sort of been similar this season. I think after about 10 games, we were in the relegation zone. You know, it was really doom and gloom, and all of a sudden, Keeley scored a header in the FA Cup, and we've sort of just taken off from there. And we went the whole of December without conceding. I think we've lost one league game now in like 15 or something. So 6th in the league, just enjoying the ride really, and who knows what can happen.
Yeah, last night was actually a big statement, wasn't it? Because Wrexham, one of the favourites probably to go up this season.
Yeah.
And you go onto their patch, you beat them 2-1. Jamie Donley scores a banger. Let's talk about Jamie Donley first and foremost, because he did struggle, didn't he, with form when he first joined?
Yeah, and I think that's also not really in terms of his ability, but it's also a step up. Obviously, he's used to academy football, and I'd say especially as you go down the leagues in English football, it gets a lot more physical. And I think he really struggled with the physical element of the game. There was no doubt that he was a really good technical player, but he just struggled. It also didn't help that the team was struggling for form as well. And I think a big factor of the team picking up results has been the form of Donley.
Was there any kind of one moment that it kind of just clicked for Donley and then he kind of just flourished from there?
Yeah. I mean, for the whole team, really had a game against Bristol Rovers. I think it was October-ish, and we beat them 3-0. And it was the first time we comprehensively beaten a team. And Donley ran the show. I think he got 2 assists, and he really could have scored a couple as well. Waited a long time for his first goal as well for the club, but now they seem to be coming, coming every week. So really, really pleased with how he's been.
There's always been a bit of a question mark with Donley. What's his best position? So what kind of position is he regularly playing for Orient? Is it kind of in the forward line? Is it attacking midfield? Where do you find he's at his best?
He tried out a few, particularly when we were struggling for form. I think he did do a stint up front, played a few games off the right, but I think undoubtedly he's definitely a number 10 attacking midfielder. Some of the passes he picks up, his awareness, his positioning, definitely I think a number 10.
Yeah, 6 goals, 5 assists in Orient colours in just in the league this season. There's obviously the cup run to talk about as well that you mentioned about Josh Keeley, and you know we mentioned it just before you came on with Jamie Donley scoring pretty much from the halfway line. It was given an own goal, probably the only own goal that you ever see in up for goal of the weekend in the FA Cup. But just talk to me about these goals that Donley's scoring week in, week out, and the assists. Some of the passing I'm seeing to some of the other forward players just seems to be unbelievable.
I think by the end of the season, he's going to have a really good highlights reel. I think he scored 6 goals now. I think maybe 5 of them were absolute worldies. I mean, last night, fantastic goal, but I don't even think it's up in his top 2. So that really shows just in terms of his quality. And I've said his technique is just ridiculous. The way that Manchester City goal as well, you had so little time to think about it and to hit it like that. And there's no doubt, of course, he meant to catch the keeper off guard. And his quick thinking, I mean, running out of superlatives to describe his form of late.
Yeah, he seems to have an absolute wonderful effort, doesn't he? And as you say, those long-range shots have been a staple of Donley's time so far for Leyton Orient. But what about the other side of his game? How hard does he work? Is he a guy who is he a luxury player who just likes to receive the ball and doesn't work too hard off the ball? Or how do you assess kind of his work ethic?
No, he's got one thing that's really going to help him. He's got a really good footballing brain. He really understands the game. We went down to 10 men yesterday, and we had to play about 10 minutes with 10 men, and just the way he protected the ball, won a few throw-ins, exactly what you want when you're a man down. Very cheaply loses the ball for a silly situation. If he's losing it, he's trying to Hollywood pass or something, and obviously you can't really knock that. I think his close control is very good. Defensively works really hard, heads away a lot of corners for us. He's a good physical presence. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's got much wrong with his game, and I really think he's going to go to the top.
Do you think at this current moment in time he's a bit too good for League One, or do you think that's the kind of the level that he should be? Like, do you think next season he can make the step up and be part of the Spurs squad in the Premier League?
I genuinely think he can. I think he definitely needed a loan spell to kick on. I don't think he's one of them that can just go straight in. There's talk about if maybe Championship's the next step up for him. But from what I've seen, I think with better players around him, I don't think there's any reason why he can't sort of thrive in a Tottenham side. Obviously, I know he made a few appearances at the end of last season, but he currently is probably the star of our team. And I think if he had very good players around him, as you obviously do at Tottenham, I think he could be in the first team whenever he wants, really.
Are Orient fans dreaming of potentially keeping him for another year, or they accepted that it's never going to happen? Or do you have to get promoted to maybe convince him for a Championship loan? What are you feeling about potentially trying to keep him?
I think the only way we would keep him is if we went up. Even if we did go up, I still don't think he would come back to us. I think he's way too good for us. It's Keeley that I'd hope that we can maybe get on a permanent. But I think football fans can recognise good talent when they see it, and Donley's one of the best sort of certainly loan players in terms of ability, because you get so many loan players that come in from Premier League clubs with high expectations and are just awful and never really kick off. But certainly in recent times, or as far as I can remember, I think Donley's been probably the best loan player we've had in a very long time.
We were just talking off camera a little bit about Harry Kane and Jamie Donley. In terms of the feeling within the fan base on the stands, how do people compare the two loan spells with Harry Kane and Jamie Donley?
Yeah, so I was never really old enough to watch Harry Kane play for Orient, but the general consensus is that he didn't have the best loan spell with us, and frankly, it was quite uninspiring. Donley's a player that gets you off your seat. He makes things happen. He wins you games, and that's also massive to have a match winner in your squad, particularly going into the final few months of the season. A lot of Orient fans will say that Donley's definitely exceeded what Harry Kane did at Leyton Orient. Doesn't mean that's going to exceed what Harry Kane's done in his career, but it's certainly a positive sign.
If he carries on this kind of form, Donley, do you reckon he could be a shout for League One Player of the Year?
I think with the amount Birmingham has spent and the sort of players they have, I'd be very shocked if they didn't get Player of the Year. Team of the Season or maybe even Young Player of the Year, I could see. I think there's also a big chance he'll get Leyton Orient Player of the Year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, Jay. I told you, even when he was going through his bad run of form, I said, keep the faith. Jamie Donley is a top. He's going to be a top player, and he's going to show his worth to you, and that's exactly what he's done this season.
I saw one Orient fan when he was going through a bad run of form. He tweeted out saying, "Donley, get your UCAS out because you ain't going to be a footballer." And I think he retweeted that tweet after he scored one of his many bangers, saying, "Yeah, I think I got this one wrong."
So yeah, I'm delighted to see how Jamie Donley's kicking on, and it's pretty much. I said it to you last night, Jake. I pretty much. Leyton Orient is like my second team right now. I'm just following so closely what they're doing, what Jamie Donley's doing, what Josh Keeley's doing. And let's move on and talk about Josh Keeley, because he's also having a fantastic season. He probably caught the hearts of the Orient fans a bit sooner than Donley, didn't he?
I'd say the kickstart to this whole sort of good run was his last minute header in the FA Cup against Oldham. I mean, if Donley's moment wasn't historic in Leyton Orient history, then against Manchester City, then Keeley certainly was. 13 clean sheets in 21 League One matches. I think that's a ridiculous stat. Most clean sheets in the league to Leyton Orient have, and a large part is down to him. He's a really calming presence and a very, very good goalie at this level.
Yeah, he's another keeper, another player similar to Donley, maybe not to the same extent, but I don't think he was starting straight away, was he, at the beginning of the season? So how do you feel like he won his place? He just took his chance as soon as he got it? Or was there question marks over him when he did play earlier in the season?
No, I feel like he came in on deadline day. We had a goalkeeper, another lone goalkeeper that really struggled in the first couple of matches of the season, and it was clear we needed a new goalkeeper, and Keeley played a Carabao Cup game against Brentford, obviously Premier League opposition, really impressed, made a lot of good saves, really kept the scoreline down. And I think it was 2 or 3 games later that he shifted Zach Hemming out for the number 1 spot. And since then it's been his, and there's no real competition. And he's ever present, and he's certainly doing very well.
Yeah, what would you say Josh Keeley's strengths are? Because I was watching the Man City game, and I saw some brilliant goalkeeping on display that day against a top side. So I mean, what do you think his strengths and what is his weaknesses?
I'd say strengths are definitely reflexes. You mentioned his 98th minute save yesterday. I think that maybe 6 yards, and it deflected at a really fast pace, and he managed to keep it out. That Manchester City game, he made some really good saves that were sort of came at him. He didn't have a lot of time to think about it. One thing I like about him is he's 21 years of age, but he's a real talker. He really speaks like a captain. He's guiding the whole back four. He loves the fans. He loves that sort of connection. I don't think he has many weaknesses. I think a big strong point of his game is his sort of rush goalkeeper side, where we play quite a high line, sort of similar to Spurs, and he's always there to sweep up. I'd say maybe 1 or 2 times this season he has made a few wrong decisions when in terms of coming out, but I think all goalkeepers do that. So there's no real overriding factor that makes you think he's got a big weakness to his game. I think he's a top goalkeeper.
What about his playing out from the back?
Yeah. He's got very good distribution. I'd say normally with us, we just sort of pass it to the centre half. So he's not really doing Ederson sort of passes. I believe he has got 1 or 2 assists though this season from long balls. So he can sort of mix up his game really. I really like as well. I didn't mention this before in the positives. I really like as well. I like a goalkeeper who can control the box. Someone who when a corner comes in will come out and claim it. And he's certainly one of them that when the ball's sort of put on top of his head, that he'll come out and catch it and sort of take the pressure off the back four.
Yeah. How do you feel he stacks up with the other keepers in League One? Do you believe he's one of the better keepers in League One?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with a record like that, with 13 clean sheets in 21 games, you have to really make a definitely top 3 argument for him. Again, wouldn't have won yesterday without him, wouldn't have given City such a good game without him, and quite frankly, wouldn't be 6th in the table without him. He's been a really, really good signing and a real testament to the transfer committee at Leyton Orient that they've brought in such valuable loan players this season.
You mentioned before about Donley. You think that he could potentially make the step up to even the Premier League next season. Do you feel it's the same for someone like Josh Keeley?
Uh, I'm not too sure. Obviously, goalkeeper's a really judgmental position in terms of
Yeah.
one manager can think you're really good, and another one can not rate you and sort of shift you out. I think Donley, you can tell in terms of technical ability, could definitely play at a higher level. Keeley's just one that I think he'd have to be tried and tested at another level before you can make a decision really.
Yes, as you say, you wouldn't be where you are right now if it wasn't for Keeley and Donley. And if you didn't have them on loan, if they won't make the impact they have, do you think you'd be like struggling for relegation? Where do you think you'd be in the table if you didn't have these loan players?
I don't think we'd be struggling for relegation. I think we just had a dodgy start to the season, but I definitely don't think we'd be where we are now. I think we'd be sort of mid-table, 12th, 13th. I mean, Donley's produced so many match-winning moments, whether it's with assists or goals, and Keeley's made a lot of defining saves. So I think we'd just be in mid-table, to be honest, sort of similar to last season. But they've really taken our game to another level, and they've pushed other players to perform really well as well.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about these two players and the futures that they both have at Tottenham Hotspur, because Jamie Donley, I do think that there's going to be a plan to maybe integrate him into the first team. But you look at Keeley, right? And I've been a big advocate of Keeley over the past year or so. But we signed Kinski, right, in January, who's the same age as Keeley, and he's come in and he's had a few first-team appearances in the absence of Vicario, and he looks like a really confident keeper, brilliant with the ball at his feet, maybe not the best shot stopper. But it'd be interesting to see what the plan is with Keeley. I mean, I'm guessing the answer is that you want him back on loan next season, regardless if you're in League One or the Championship.
Yeah, I think he's more of a realistic option to bring back. There was a lot of talk that he was going to sign permanently in January before Tottenham went through the whole injury crisis in goal. Obviously, not sure how true that was, but he certainly loves the club. You can really tell, particularly after he scored that header. The fans love him. I think he could play at Championship level. I don't know if that's going to be with us, but I'd love to have him back. But again, he's a player that, look, at our level, you can completely understand if a player's too good to play for you. If he joined another team on loan in League One, I'd be fuming. But you can't have any complaints if he's gonna go to a higher level and play there.
Yeah, were you surprised when you saw Spurs sign Kinski?
Not really, because as I said, Keeley's, he was only in the National League last season for Barnet. And I didn't think you'd recall him and sort of throw him back into the mixer. I think Kinski obviously has proven at a higher level. He's played in the top flight of his country, so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I think Keeley's just another young goalie similar to Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman that has just come through the academy and needs game time.
Do you think he could be Ireland #1 soon, though?
I think it's going to be really hard to shift Kelleher out of the goal because I'm a big fan of him.
Kelleher.
I think he can certainly be in and around the squad, and it'll certainly be a good presence to have.
All right, well, it's great to hear how our two boys are doing out on loan at Leyton Orient. Don't get too comfortable with particularly Jamie Donley, but I do wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. And I genuinely hope that Leyton Orient do get promoted this season and Jamie Donley, goes from strength to strength and keeps up this form for the rest of the season. But thank you very much for coming on today, Jake.